Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Mythlok with your host Nitin Nair. Today we are going to be exploring another Southeast Asian mythology, and that is Philippine mythology. Now, one of the reasons why I find Philippine mythology so interesting and so out there in terms of the kind of characters that we can actually see is the fact that the Philippines is actually a collection of so many islands that each island has its own distinct characteristic, culture, belief system and traditions that the peoples still hold very close to their heart. It becomes a matter of whether we can actually club them all together as one mythology, or do each of these different tribes deserve their own representation when we talk about the gods and the different characters that actually help them live their lives so far. While the mythology side of things actually demand that they deserve their own separate space, the practicality element and the fact that the proximity ensures that there are a lot of common characters, albeit with a few different names or different pronunciations or slight variations in each of the stories. At the end of the day, the whole mythology is one, and that's how we at Mythlok have decided to present it to you. Today, we're looking at another Philippine god and who also happens to be one of the most important gods in the whole cosmology, the Bathala. In ancient Tagalog, which is the language of the Philippines, the supreme being known as Bathala Maykapal, commonly known as Bathala, is regarded as the creator and the ruler of the universe. This term was also used for lesser beings such as personal spirits, woman birds, comets and other heavenly bodies. It was after the Spanish missionaries came to Philippines that Bathala Maykapal became known as a Christian god. Before the 19th century, the term was no longer used as it was since replaced by the words Panginoon and Diyos. The efforts by the Spanish missionary or the Spanish army that actually came over and started to control the Philippines was predominantly religious in nature. And one of the ways where they can actually get people to adopt Christianity as part of their religious beliefs was to somehow equate it with their own traditional beliefs and say that it's all the same and they are slightly needed to adjust their belief system to fall in line with what the Christian missionaries wanted. I personally condone any acts where religion is forced upon a group of people, but the Filipinos have managed to keep their traditions alive despite having also accepted Christianity as part of the whole cultural mix in the region. Bathala is actually the creator of everything in the universe. He is said to have appeared during various natural phenomena such as a flood, a fire and an earthquake, and he declared his authority over the world. The origin of where Bathala came from is not known or documented even by the Spanish missionaries. The worship of Bathala, although common across the various islands and tribes of the Philippines, is most prominent in the Luzon area and its indigenous tribes. Bathala is considered to be very human-like in his appearance, as he created human beings in his own image in the various creation stories that exist. Various stories of Bathala across the Philippines describe him as an ageless god with a white flowing beard, but extremely strong and powerful. Other myths and folklore depict him as a young man at the time of creation and during his battle with his enemies like Sitan and Ulilang Kaluluwa. In other myths, he is also described as a giant of a man who lived alone on earth before creating all living beings. Across the many islands of the Philippines, Bathala is known by many names. Also known as Aba, this highest-ranking deity was described as Maykapal sa lahat, or the creator of everything. His origin is unknown, but his name suggests Hindu influences that came in from traders and travelers from India. The name Bathala is said to be derived from the Sanskrit word Bhattara. Other names attributed to Bathala include Badala, Bathala, Bachala, Muleri, Molayayari, Molayare, Nuno, Maykapal, Megawa, Lumikwa, Diwata, and Dioata. Bathala was an all-powerful and god who commanded obedience and reverence wherever he went. From his sky abode Kawalhaitan, Bathala can oversee humanity. He is pleased to see his people follow his rules and intentions. He is pleased when people do good to him, and he lavishes his love on those who paid him homage by following his moral laws. Filipinos are said to adopt a loose and passive attitude towards worldly affairs, which is attributed to the country's dependence on him. He is also harsh towards those who are not following his rules and sends lightning and thunder to punish those who do not follow his teachings. Revival of ancient and traditional Filipino gods is on full swing in the region, and the inhabitants finally shedding years of Spanish influence that stems from the colonization of the lands by the European aggressor. The youth in particular are choosing to refer to ancient gods and deities in their original names and adopting traditional worship than the Spanish documented ones. Bathala is in the forefront of this silent revolution by being the figure which actually has been encouraging the youth to take up this cause. It always pleases my heart when I see different cultures trying to revive their traditions and giving the respect and the authority to the whole belief system and traditions that their ancestors followed early in the day. We will be exploring a lot more of this revolution kind of sorts that's happening in the Philippines in the days to come, and maybe look at a lot more characters that are actually driving this force by influencing the imagination of the youth in the Philippines. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of Mythlok. This is your host, Nitin Nair, signing off by reminding you once again that Mythlok is the home of mythology.